Part 1. Introduction. The history of ancient Egypt constitutes an amazing painting in the record of human civilizations, as the civilization of the Pharaohs flourished on the banks of the Nile River, making it occupy a unique place in the hearts of scholars and researchers. This great civilization dates back thousands of years, where arts, sciences, and religion blended to form an exceptional model of human development. First, we must consider the role of the Nile River in building the civilization of the Pharaohs. The Nile was not just a river, it was the life of the Egyptian people, providing them with water and fertile land to cultivate lands. Flowing rivers were also considered a source of food and environmental diversity, which contributed to the stability of the civilization. All the way up to the Pharaoh, the person who bears the burden of ruling this great civilization, the Pharaoh is considered a person of divine authority. Called Peer Most High, he's not just a ruler but a mediator between God and humanity. The Pharaoh is considered to have a divine responsibility to guide the lives of his people and ensure the continued prosperity of their civilization. On the cultural side, the Pharaohs had a particularly important religious system. They held pluralistic beliefs, where several gods were worshipped to represent different aspects of life. They had gods of the sun, war, love, and life after death, which shows the diversity and complexity of religious beliefs. Part 2. The Pharaoh and the Ruler. In the pharaonic system of government, the pharaohs had control over all aspects of daily life. The pharaoh was not only a ruler, but a symbol of power and divinity. The pharaoh forms an axis around which most of the decisions of the state and society revolve. There was an organized hierarchical system, with the pharaohs working in cooperation with the priests and the working class. Priests played an important role in religious and cultural life. They ran temples, performed religious rituals, and were advisors to the pharaoh in state decisions. There was also another class of government officials who were involved in organizing economic and social affairs. In the field of language and writing, the pharaohs made great contributions. They invented the hieroglyphic writing system, which was used in writing on walls and temples. They left behind many texts and literature, reflecting the richness of their civilization and traditions. From an artistic standpoint, the civilization of the pharaohs shined in architecture and sculpture. They built huge pyramids using advanced engineering techniques and created huge statues that expressed the power and wealth of the kingdom. They were also interested in mosaics and frescoes, describing their daily lives and religious events. In this way, the legacy of the pharaohs remains alive and shining as their influence on the world continues today. They left an unforgettable legacy in human history and are considered one of the greatest civilizations that contributed to shaping the course of human history. Part 3. Pyramids and Engineering Achievements. The huge Egyptian pyramids constitute one of the most prominent engineering achievements in human history and are considered unique engineering masterpieces. These magnificent structures were built as tombs for pharaohs, and the Great Pyramid of Giza was built for Pharaoh Khufu. The pyramids embody not only the power and wealth of ancient Egypt, but also advanced engineering technology. The process of building the pyramids required careful planning and huge labor. Amazing engineering techniques were used to move and lift huge blocks of stone, and this was achieved using advanced technical platforms, ladders, and tools. The pyramids were not just a burial place for the pharaohs, but also reflected their engineering and technological superiority. Part 4. Arts and Culture. The civilization of the pharaohs created amazing arts that express the richness of their unique culture and heritage. They had a variety of arts, ranging from sculpture and painting to architecture and crafts. Their magnificent statues and frescoes reflected not only their artistic skills, but also an expression of their values and beliefs. The hieroglyphic language was an important means of transmitting knowledge and communication in the civilization of the pharaohs. They used writing to document daily events and religious texts, and wrote on walls, vessels, and temples. Language and writing were essential elements for preserving their heritage and passing it on to subsequent generations. Part 5. Trade and Economics. Ancient Egypt was a vital trading center and a meeting point for trade between East and West. The Nile provided them with vast resources of grain, cotton, and mines, which gave them a strategic position in world trade. There were trade relations with neighboring countries, and they traded in gold, silver, and precious stones. They used rivers and trade caravans to facilitate the exchange of goods, and had an efficient economic system based on foreign trade and agriculture. In this way, the importance of the pharaohs is evident in multiple fields, as they were not limited to enormous buildings, but rather their creativity was evident in the arts, economics, and engineering, which made them a unique civilization and has a continuing influence until today. Part 6. Everyday Life and Science. Daily life in ancient Egypt was full of diverse activities and rich culture. People lived around the Nile River and relied on its resources for their daily lives. Land cultivation was a vital activity, as peasants relied on annual flood cycles to grow their crops, making them dependent on the abundance of the Nile for their agricultural stability. In the field of science, the civilization of the pharaohs had great contributions. They developed a timekeeping system known as the solar calendar, which was accurate and based on the movement of the sun. They also possessed knowledge in the field of medicine and surgery and wrote about the stars and astronomy, showing their understanding of natural phenomena and technology of antiquity. Part 7. Military Developments and Expansion. The civilization of the pharaohs witnessed important military developments as they had an organized and powerful army. They relied on advanced tactics in battles and expanded Egypt's borders through expansionist campaigns. The army was well trained and effectively organized, and cavalry and infantry tactics were used effectively in their battles. They built forts and castles to protect against external threats and used engineering technology to create effective defensive zones. Expansion campaigns led by the pharaohs saw an extension of their control as they captured neighboring territories and established a powerful empire. Part 8. Heritage and Cultural Impact. The civilization of the pharaohs left a profound cultural impact on the world, influencing various areas of life. The pharaonic pyramids and monuments are prominent symbols of Egyptian heritage and have become a tourist and study attraction. Hieroglyphics and pharaonic writing appear as unique communication tools that express cultural uniqueness. Their artistic influences also extend to architecture, sculpture, and painting, where their sculptures and paintings have universal appeal. They are considered pioneers in the field of literature and poetry, and they left behind historical and literary texts of great value. In conclusion, the legacy of the pharaohs has an impact not only on the history of Egypt and the region, but also on the global development of arts, sciences, and culture. Part 9. Decline and End of Civilization. Despite the continuity and prominent influence left by the civilization of the pharaohs, it witnessed periods of decline and defeats. Egypt was affected by invaders and external attacks, and fought internal conflicts that left their mark on political and economic stability. War technologies and weapons advanced, and the pharaohs had confrontations with conquering peoples that contributed to the decline of their military power. In the subsequent period, Egypt was affected by the transfer of power and internal tremors, and lost its status as a great power. The decline accelerated with the influence of foreign empires, and the end of the pharaonic civilization represented a period characterized by political and economic decline. Part 10. The Legacy of the Pharaohs in the Modern Era. Despite the end of the civilization of the pharaohs as a political force, its legacy remains alive and prominent in the modern era. Pharaonic antiquities and temples continue to attract visitors and researchers, and are considered a magnet for archaeological and historical studies. Continued interest in the civilization of the pharaohs contributes to preserving and transmitting its cultural heritage to future generations. Hieroglyphs serve as a coding language for their thoughts and culture, and their continued decoding opens windows into their daily lives and beliefs. Pharaonic art reflects their intellectual and religious development and remains a source of inspiration for contemporary artists and designers. From a literary standpoint, pharaonic myths and stories remain a rich source for understanding the beliefs and values of the ancient Egyptians. Science preserves their contributions in the fields of mathematics, medicine, and engineering, and their study is considered a basis for understanding the scientific development of that era. In conclusion, the legacy of the pharaohs remains invaluable, as their influence extends throughout the ages and remains a subject of admiration and study for many generations. Their civilization represents a rich and multifaceted repertoire that inspires researchers, artists, and scientists all over the world.